I'm Glenn Campbell. I feel very honored to be asked to participate in the Theory of Knowledge Expedition 2020 at United World College in Maastricht, Netherlands. Unfortunately, I'm trapped in America right now, and I can't physically be there. So we're going to try some sort of interactive thing through the computer where people ask me questions through the computer and I try to answer them. And I've never done that before. I've never participated in a remote conference before. So I thought what I should do is I should record a video summarizing my topic, hitting the main points of my topic. And then we can try the interactive thing, because I know I can make the video work. I don't know if I can make the interactive thing work, but we'll try our best here. So what is my topic? My topic is the most important topic in the world, demography. What is demography? It's the counting of people, a lot of statistics involved. It sounds like the boringest topic in the world, but I assure you it's really important. It is the most important topic that you will be facing, your generation will be facing in the next 50 years. A demographic crisis. Now, you may think that there are a lot of other crises. There's global warming, there's the pandemic, there's all of this debt that my generation is leaving to your generation. There's all sorts of political instabilities in the world, and these are all serious problems. But I think that demography is even worse. Specifically, there's a demographic crisis brewing around the world, and it's going to cause as much devastation as global warming. And so what is that crisis? In simplest terms, it's a lack of babies. The world is not producing enough babies. Now, this may come as a surprise to you, because I grew up, and maybe you grew up, thinking there was a population explosion on planet Earth, that we were producing people, too many people, and these people were using up space and producing carbon and despoiling the planet, and it was a crisis that we have to stop, that we have to stop reproducing at such a rate. And this is a case of be careful what you wish for, because we have stopped reproducing, at least in the developed world. Outside of Africa, outside the poorest countries in Africa, most countries in the world are not producing enough babies to sustain their populations. And this is a different kind of crisis. This is a population implosion. Right now we have about 7.8 billion people on the planet. That has slowed down considerably, and within a couple decades we're going to reach our peak of about 9 billion people on the planet, and then it's going to head down. And in many countries of the world it's already heading down. If you live in Bulgaria or Romania or Japan or South Korea, you know your population is already falling, and you're already beginning to feel the effects of this population implosion. All the developed parts of the world where they have good access to birth control, they're not having babies because it doesn't make sense to them. It's economically, it's so damn expensive and so damn risky, because every time you bring a baby into the world, there's a risk things are going to go bad. There's so many things that can go wrong. This is so damn expensive that why would anyone want babies? At least more than one or two. And everyone in the world is thinking that way, and so no one is going to be producing, we just aren't going to be producing enough babies going into the coming century. So what are the economic effects of this? It's a disaster on many fronts. one disaster that we're facing right now is that my generation, earlier generations, have saddled your generation with so much debt that you can't possibly pay it back. And if there aren't enough babies, then there won't be enough workers, tax-paying workers in later years to pay off all of this debt that has been accumulated by previous generations. So debts can't be sustained, and sooner or later, governments can print money to pay these debts, but sooner or later, these bills come due and things start collapsing. It gets to the point where we've got this infrastructure of roads and railroads and things, and we can't maintain it because we don't have enough taxpayers. What's more important, if younger generations stop having babies, the population gets older and older and older. So you have a ton of old people. There were a lot of people born during what is called the baby boom era, directly after World War II in America, and later in Europe. There was a baby boom where lots of babies were born, and those babies powered the economy through the end of the 20th century and into the 21st century, and now all of those people are retiring. They're becoming, instead of becoming assets to society that are paying taxes, they are becoming burdens to society, and they're absorbing taxes. So we have a combination of not enough workers and too many old people. That means that medical systems are going to collapse. It's going to mean that we can't pay to give the old people the medical treatment and the care that they deserve and they expect, and they were have paid into. So we have this elder care crisis. So we have, when populations fall, all sorts of bad things happen. And we're just beginning to see it happen right now. It was triggered by the pandemic, but the pandemic isn't really the cause of what's going on. What's the real cause of the economic collapse that's happening all around us is demography, the problem of there not being as many babies born as there were in the past, and this creates all sorts of disequilibrium that's bringing civilization down, that is crushing society. And things are looking very bad in the next couple of decades and for the foreseeable future. So what do we do about this? And this is the question for you. What is your generation going to do about this lack of babies? And we can, in our little discussion, we can run through the possibilities. What can you do to make more babies? Well, the logical, we have all been trained that the government is going to save us from problems like this, because the government has always saved us in the past. And what the government needs to do, let's say, is pay us to have more babies. So if a mother is raising a baby, it goes through 9 months of pregnancy and is raising a child, maybe she should be paid just like a real worker is paid for her services, because every baby born is a future taxpayer to the government. So when we make babies, when your generation makes babies, all of society is going to benefit 20 or 30 years from now. So shouldn't society be contributing to the upkeep, to servicing that baby? And yes, that makes perfect sense. The only trouble is all of our governments are insolvent now, and any incentive that they can offer pales in comparison to the cost of having a baby. For example, the Russian government gives people a baby bonus. If you have more than two kids or more than one kid, you get a baby bonus of $10,000 in rubles for every baby you produce. Is that going to improve things? And there's no easy way to know, but if you're a smart parent and you look at $10,000 and you compare it to the hundreds of thousands of dollars it costs to actually raise a child, you're going to say, no thanks. I don't need this $10,000. I'm going to just not have any babies at all and not incur any expenses. So the governments are hamstrung. There's really nothing they can do. They can try to offer like free health care, free child care. Many governments, Sweden seems to have a pretty good system for that, of subsidized child care so people can go off and work. But Sweden isn't any better than Romania is. It's popular. It can't produce enough babies. What is the solution? It was really, really easy to solve the population explosion. China did it without any difficulty. They started this one-child policy and started punishing anybody who had more than one child, and it was really effective. But it doesn't work in the other direction. You can't punish people into having children. You can try to bribe them into having children, but even that doesn't work unless you want to pay people a huge salary that no government can afford. So what are the solutions? You tell me. I have my own ideas. I have my own, what I call my post-nuclear family, which I discuss in other videos, and we can discuss, where instead of two adults raising one or two babies in one household, we have a bunch of adults raising a bunch of children in one household. And I'm thinking between 9 and 18 kids in one household. But that's my idea. I want to hear your idea. How do we solve this demographic crisis? And is it a crisis, or should we just let things go? Do we really need to preserve humanity at all? Can we just let it die a natural death? Or should we try to save it? And if we're going to save it, how do we produce the babies that are going to do that? Am I live? I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, because yours the feedback's too bad.
So when I speak, I won't hear. When I speak, I won't hear anything.
No, you won't hear any feedback.
Okay, so
then we'll unmute. Yeah.
So you give me the thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
No. Right, okay.
Okay.
All right. Hey. So am I speaking now?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for letting me listen. What did you just say about me? What did you just say about me?
Nothing.
Nothing? How big am I? 2 meters?
Yes.
I've never been this big before.
Okay, we'll quickly introduce your talk and go through the logistics of it. So like for people to ask questions and such. Okay. So,
I'll give it up for Glenn Campbell.
Oh, I got ready to go, right? All right, okay, cool. Hi, wow, look at all those faces. I'm Glenn Campbell. I'm talking to you from a motel room in Georgia, USA. And you may know me from some videos I put out critical of some aspects of UWC. And I'm also known worldwide as an expert on Area 51, which is a secret military base in the Nevada desert where there may or may not be UFOs. And I could talk about either of those topics for hours, but I've only got 29 minutes here. And since I have so little time, I want to focus on the one most important thing I can talk about, which is demographics. Now, I assume that most of you have seen the little video introduction that I recorded in a warehouse in Texas. So I think you get the gist of where I'm coming at. I grew up believing that the world was overpopulated, that we had a population explosion. And maybe you believe this too. And the more I've got into demographics, the more I realize, no, it's really the opposite. The real problem for humanity right now is not enough people. And you may say that's ridiculous because there are 8 billion people on the planet and we really can't support all of them. The trouble is there's no graceful way to get from 8 billion people to something less. So what the developed world, the problem with the developed world right now is that there are not enough babies. You people aren't producing any babies, even though you're perfectly capable of doing this. In a traditional society, most of you would be married off right now and you'd be making babies. But you're not doing that. You're doing the right thing. You're pursuing your education. You're going to pursue your careers. And then maybe when you're 30 or 40, you'll think about having a baby. The trouble is that's not enough babies. And when you don't have enough babies, eventually you don't have enough workers and you don't have enough people paying taxes to pay for all these obligations that governments have. So that's one demographic problem that the world is facing. I call my project Demographic Doom because there's a lot of other demographic problems that we have. But let's just focus for now on that one problem. Not enough babies. How do we get people to have more babies? And do we need more babies? So let's open it up to discussion. Someone throw a question at me and we'll see what we can make out of the next 25 minutes.
This is my question. So,
Guys, can you please quiet down? Yeah.
you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Are you sure?
Yes. Oh. All right. Okay. So you've talked about having. Can you mute it? Okay. So at this point, you are muted, and I can talk to you without the echo. Okay. So this is my question. You've said that it is important for us to have more babies, but what are your thoughts when it comes to, like you said we need to have more babies in order to support the workers, to support the older generations, right? With the pyramid of, population, right? So when it comes to determining how you live your life, one might decide, oh, let's become a writer or let's become a musician. And those professions, while I think they are valuable, may not necessarily support older generations as the demographics, the pyramid slims. So what are your thoughts when it comes to having a life that both balances the needs of the collective and the needs of the individual in terms of demographics?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, it's a real dilemma. I mean, you're doing the right thing. And look at me, I don't have any kids. So you have a choice. You can spend 20 years raising kids, or you can go off and do something that's equally important. You can be working for some other social cause. And that's certainly a valid personal decision. The trouble is, if everybody makes those valid personal decisions, it hurts society in the long run. So we've got it's a true dilemma, and there's no easy answers. Now, I do have my own idea of how this should be resolved, and that is to have some sort of collective where a bunch of people get together and raise kids together and thereby lower the costs and make this more supportable. But other than that, in the situation we're in right now, where we've got the nuclear family raising children, no one wants to have more than 1 or 2 kids. And a lot of people aren't having kids. So that means, for example, in the Netherlands, there just aren't enough people making kids to support the Netherlands. And the only thing Netherlands can do is go out and steal other people's workers, steal immigrants. and bring them into the country, which in the long run isn't sustainable. So it's a real dilemma. And within our current culture, I don't think there's any solutions.
Hi there. I guess my question would be, how do you see migration affecting this phenomenon that you described, like certain countries not having enough population or babies rather, and then other countries keeping on producing, let's say, babies?
Okay, you've got another demographic dilemma. Not only is the world, the developed world, not producing enough babies, but it's stealing all the talent from the rest of the world. So yes, Nigeria is producing in excess of babies. So Europe is going and it's taking all the talent out of Nigeria and bringing them to Europe. And that's great for Europe, but it's not great for Nigeria or Bulgaria or Romania that are losing all of their talent. So this is something that you're participating in. Here you have left your home countries and you're coming to this prosperous country of the Netherlands from what may be a poor country in difficult circumstances. Now you're facing a dilemma. Are you going to go back to your home country where the opportunities aren't as good, or are you going to come to a developed country where your opportunities are better? And this is a one-way drain. All of the talent is coming out of the poorer countries and going to the richer countries, and which is great for the rich countries. It's horrible for the poor countries because they have invested in their children, and now you're taking the best of their children away from them. And as to the question, I don't know what the solution is. It's just a one-way street, and I don't know where it's going to end.
We have a few other questions lining up, so next up, you want to? Yeah. Okay, just a second. All right, go ahead.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Romania and Bulgaria. My country is somewhat similar. It is Lithuania. And what? Oh, Lithuania. You had? Okay. So when it was part of Soviet Union, it had a rising population. And after the collapse, it lost a quarter of its population. But for now, because of European Union, for 2 years in a row, we are facing population growth. And yes, I see that. All Baltic states are actually facing that. And it is very slow, but it will increase, for my knowledge. And for my knowledge, even your mentioned Bulgaria and Romania might also get something like that in the future. Don't you think that this problem is solving itself? And also, one question. Another question would be, why do you think that the population is a catastrophic problem when the population is not at very fast rate? Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, answering your second question first. In principle, it's a good idea to have fewer people. I'd be much more comfortable if there were 4 billion people on the planet rather than 8 billion. We can all agree that there are too many people. The problem is, how do you get there? How do you get from 8 billion to 4 billion without crashing your economy? And that's the key thing here. If you've got a ton of old people and not many young people, you're going to crash your economy because you have these huge burdens of the old people. And I'm one of those old people. And one of the problems with old people is that they use up a lot of resources. They use up a lot of resources. They use up medical resources and pension resources, and they've got nobody to support them. And these old people have charged up the credit card, the social credit card, and dumped all these debts on you people that you can't possibly pay. So there's no problem with having fewer population. The problem is the economic disaster of getting down to that population. And then what was your first question concerned Lithuania, and your claim was that Lithuania is growing in population? I've never seen,
Okay. Together with Estonia, Latvia, and a couple of other new European Union countries, it is because, like Lithuania, it is getting her former immigrants back due to a bit of nationalism,
Okay.
I'd say, and also because of Ukraine, we are also getting some immigrants. Okay, and another question, if I also may ask, I'm sorry for such long questions, but so do you think that stability is the best, demographical stability would be the best way to solve this problem?
stability? Well, where does stability come from? It comes from economic stability. And I'm very happy for the Baltics. If they are gaining population right now, that's good. But they are gaining population at the expense of other countries, at the expense of Ukraine. Okay, I've spent a lot of time in Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and these are very modern countries. These are very prosperous societies. They are like the Netherlands. They are attracting talent from other countries. Ukraine is still in dire straits, and Bulgaria is still in dire straits. And they will continue to not only have a low birth rate of something like 1.2 children per woman, but they also have all of their young talent leaving the Ukraine and going to Lithuania. So that solves the problem of Lithuania. It doesn't solve the problem of all the countries that Lithuania is stealing talent from.
Hi, I'm An from Nepal. So my question is, when you say we need to make more babies and try increasing the population growth rate, there are demographic scientists and publications, on the other hand, saying we should try slowing the population growth rate. Why do you think there is such a contrast in the beliefs when we know that the population eventually will cap off at 9 billion, with, like you mentioned in your previous video?
Thank you.
Okay, there's a lot of difference in the world about how population is going. You're talking about Nepal, India, certain countries in Africa. They are still growing in population. They still have a high birth rate. So for them, it's important to bring the birth rate down. For example, in, I'm getting the sun in my eyes. It's important for them to bring the population down in their countries. It's advantageous to bring the population down, the birth rate down in Nepal. But that doesn't solve the problem of the developed countries. The developed countries are still going to Nepal and taking the best and brightest out of Nepal and bringing them to the developed countries. So Nepal is getting poorer in its talent base, even as its population is still growing. So there's not one situation going on in the world where everybody is not making enough babies. Some countries are making enough babies, but they're losing their talent. I'm going to go turn off that light.
All right.
And
So we have the question coming up for you.
yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, Glenn. So basically, since we're the TOK conference, a big part of TOK is questioning why we know what we know, and questioning our sources and sort of be critical. So when we began, you said that you were worldwide experts on Area 51, but now we're talking about demographics. So I'd sort of like to know your credentials and what makes you an expert in the field.
I have no credentials whatsoever. So something you all would also know in your theory of knowledge course is that that doesn't matter, okay? If I had a degree from Harvard, oh, you'd say, I have a degree from Harvard, but that doesn't change what I have to say. And the only thing I have about here is passion for the subject. I've devoted myself for 4 years to this subject, to learning every little aspect of this subject. And what I say should stand up on its own, or you find a flaw in what I have to say, in which case it's wrong. And it doesn't matter whether I went to Harvard or I have any credentials.
Thank you very much.
Other question.
So the last student coming to the podium has 2 questions. One of them concerns the environment. Since every child has an impact in the environment, isn't it better that we reduce the number of children? And the second question concerned education. She's pointing out that the education, that the drop in birth rates is the result of better education, and doesn't education improve productivity to counteract the drop in population? I got too much in my brain. Let's handle those things first. The first topic was environment. Okay, environment. Everybody has a carbon footprint, supposedly. So if you bring a new baby into the world, it's spewing out all this carbon, supposedly. I think that's a fallacy, because different people in different countries spew out different levels of carbon. Okay, you in the Netherlands, you've got using a lot of renewable resources. You're not spewing out carbon the way Americans are spewing out carbon. Americans are driving these big American cars and using a lot of fossil fuels. So what we need is fewer damn Americans and more Dutch. So it's not just a simple statement that if you have a baby, you're going to produce carbon. On the other hand, if our demographic problems get so bad that governments collapse, then governments can't enforce environmental regulations, and people go back to burning fossil fuels and cutting down forests and polluting rivers because we don't have viable governments to sustain all those sort of things. So that's your first issue. Your second issue was education. Yes, so educated people have a lot fewer babies than uneducated people. So that's an issue here. It's called the demographic economic paradox. People who are richer, people who have better education, people who have more things going on, they naturally have fewer babies. So that leaves the baby making to all these people who don't have much education and don't have many prospects in the world. So we have all the heavy lifting of making babies falling on the weakest segment of the population. So there's another demographic crisis for us, that all the wrong people are having babies, and the right people, the people who can do it well, who have the resources, they're not having babies. So we have the weakest people raising the children, and where does that lead us over a long period of time? In the final question of the program, the same student asks about sustainability. Shouldn't we be reforming our economic system to make better use of the population we have in a sustainable way, instead of depending on growth? We have 4 minutes, so good. That's a good point to end on. That this is exactly. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, we need to remake society. Yes, we need to have a stable population where we have a certain number of old people, a certain number of babies, a certain amount of people in the middle, and that stable population should be something around 4 billion people. We need to get there. The problem is, how do we get there, and how do we get back past the current economic collapse that is implied by stopping our population growth, because we have become addicted to growth. We have this is our whole economy depends on things growing, and we want to have things stable. The whole problem here, the whole challenge here is how do you get from this to a nice stable state? And there's no simple solution to that.
I'd like to thank Glenn Campbell.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, and invite me back sometime. We can discuss UFOs.